The tuba is an unwieldy instrument in the best of times. From its dramatic size to its difficulty in tone production, it's not easy to find one well suited for the school-age player. Today, on the channel, we put this Jupiter tuba to the test and see how well it holds up in these settings. Stay tuned. Hey there everybody, hope you're all doing well today. This is your host Sam here, coming at you with another installment of Scholastic Brass Month on the Samuel Plays Brass channel. Say hello, by the way, to my silver inch plant, Violet, back there. You'll be seeing the scenery and greenery change behind me as the videos go on, as I figure out which plants are the neediest and need to be a particular spot in the house. Violet is my oldest plant, and she's gotten a little overgrown, so she just had to relinquish her spot off the sunniest windowsill. In any case, today we're not talking entirely about Violet, but rather about the Jupiter JCB482 student model tuba. If today you were to go to Jupiter's website and look at their list of currently available tubas, you would not find the model 482 in that lineup. And the reason for that is that it's been replaced by its more modern cousin, the JTU-1010, shown there. Now, to all intents and purposes, this looks to me to be an identical instrument, just sort of remarketed as a modern variation on the same general build, but I thought it was worthy of mention that we're dealing with a slightly older and less modernized version for the purposes of this video, and you can feel free to take that with as many grains of salt as you deem appropriate. In any case, we do know this to be a 3/4 size B-flat tuba geared towards the student or intermediate player. It's got 4 standard stainless steel piston valves arranged in the front action configuration, a nice comfortable one at that, as the valve block is actually contoured to fit the right hand grip a little bit better than if it were 4 inline pistons. And in any case, although the wrap of the instrument is a little bit strange with slides sticking out at odd angles, it is a nice fun one to hold. It runs on fairly standard specifications, a .709-inch bore at the valve section and a 15-inch bell flare, and if you happen to be well versed in brass instruments, you'll probably know that each valve has its corresponding valve slide. This means that on this instrument we have 5 total slides, the main tuning slide and one for each of the valves. Now valves 1 and 3 have slides that are accessible via the top of the instrument, meaning if you reach over with your left arm while in playing position, you can actually adjust slides 1 and 3 while you play. This is very helpful at an advanced level. It allows you to correct intonation on the fly and make sure you are being the best foundation of the ensemble that you possibly can be. But unfortunately, valve slide 4 is in a very awkward position, considering that's one I would want to pull on the fly sometimes. It's pointing downward and directly in front of your chest, meaning you really can't do much in that case. So that's an unfortunate aspect of this instrument, but in any case, valve slides 1 and 3 are accessible to you to pull as needed. Now, as I mentioned, the tuba is naturally a very unwieldy instrument, so the fact that the JCB482 is fairly agile and nimble is honestly great news. It's very receptive to the player's inputs, it's got great response and articulations and clarity, especially in the middle and upper registers. It does not take a lot to play up there, you kind of just let it happen. The lower register is unfortunately a little bit of a different story. It's quite a bit foggier than the upper register, and that's unfortunately a common symptom of not only 3/4 size tubas, but also front action piston tubas in some cases, so it's hardly surprising that you have some extra stuffiness when you combine the two, but some people would argue that the extra resistance can actually help to center the notes down there a little bit better. Intonation is fine on the horn. There are a couple fingering combinations such as 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and especially 2 and 4 that tend sharp. But the thing is, I'll give this a pass because it's consistent across the whole horn. At the very least, it's not total oddball notes that are all over the place. You can tell, certain fingering combinations have certain intonation tendencies to them, and that means you can more or less mitigate this by setting slides out a little bit by default, which is something you do fairly commonly on tuba. For instance, even if you're pulling slides 1 and 3 on the go, you might set each of them out, a half of an inch or so, just to mitigate some intonation issues. So at the very least, I'm thankful that the 482's intonation tendencies are consistent, if not perfect. Now, of course, the sound on any 3/4 tuba is definitely going to be thinner and less full than on a 4, 5, or 6/4, but, for the general trade-off of either you get a nice rich sound or an agile playing experience, I think the 482 balances them fairly well. You definitely do get the agile playing experience, and you get, as big of a sound as you can expect. What you really have to be careful about is sounding too bright in the low register, though. course, it's not all bad. This tuba has a nice amount of punchiness for march music and such things, and there's a lot you can do with the tone if you try. The trouble is it's just a fairly literal instrument. If you play harsh, it will sound harsh. It's not like some tubas that can sound dark with just about any sort of air input. It is a little bit dependent on your impulses as a player. But what's really nice about the tone is there's not a lot of mud in the sound for faster and technical passages, especially in the middle register. And so overall, although you do have to be careful with the 482 about what sort of approach you supply it with, I think it does have a fairly nice sound considering its size and wrap. And so with all that done and dusted and packed away, I will be giving the Jupiter JCB482 the official SAM seal of approval, but with a caveat, and let's talk about what that caveat is. The general rule of thumb in a band of 50 to 60 people is to have 2 to 3 solid tuba players. And what I need to mention is that if you are the only tuba player in the band, or even if there are multiple of you, but you're in an exceptionally large group, 70 to 80 plus people as GU's wind ensemble was last year, you want to be cautious about using any 3/4 tuba, and indeed the 482 as a result. I don't think the 482 is going to provide adequate foundation to share across the whole ensemble. It's not going to be heard very well, and the presence of the sound won't be quite right for a larger wind band, but for, average size or smaller size middle and high school bands, and especially ones with a proportionately sized tuba section, I think the 482 can do just fine. I think its best use would actually be in small brass settings like brass quartets or quintets, where you have obviously less players to share the sound with, and the main thing is just to have a nice, lively, and firm bass sound, which is what the 482 does best. Jupiter advertises it as sort of the soloist's choice and good for the solo repertoire, but in my opinion it's kind of silly to try and use a B-flat tuba for most of the advanced tuba solo repertoire, so it's debatable as to whether it would really be put to good use there. In any case, I consider this to be a fun B-flat tuba. It's a great entry to learning the 4th valve, and it's, fairly standard and approachable for the beginner or intermediate player. I, as an amateur, find it easier to play than some of the hotshot big-name tubas on the market, so overall, I consider it a worthwhile package if that's the sort of thing you're looking for. In any case, I've enjoyed my time on the 482, and I hope you've enjoyed your time learning about it. If you have enjoyed this review, make sure to leave a like and a comment down below, and check to see if you're subscribed to the channel. We're trying to hit 10K subscribers by the end of this year, and I can't do it without your help. Subscribing is a small gesture with a huge impact on the channel, so thank you for your consideration. Anyway, this has been Sam of Samuel Plays Brass reviewing the Jupiter JCB482 tuba. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you on the flip side.